Everybody, Jimmy Smith back. Apologize immediately for the setup here. My house is being renovated, so I don't always have access to my office where I normally do all my work. So lack of microphone and lights and all that stuff. But I wanted you to have picks on time for this weekend's fight. Jack Della Maddalena versus Islam Makhachev. So this is just happening from my laptop here. That noise is my dog. So anyway, let's dive right into it. Main card here. We're starting off Beneil Dariush versus Benoit Saint-Denis. Beneil Dariush is, in the history of the lightweight division, just a hard luck kid where has gone on some good streaks. Every time he was right there for that title opportunity, fell short, wasn't quite there, always just, heartbreakingly close. Why? He's well-rounded, he's tough, he has an excellent ground game. He can beat everyone right up into the elite of the elite. But the problem is, when he's been at the elite of the elite, Charles Oliveira, Arman Tsarukyan, you see that he's not quite there. It sucks, but, in every sport, including combat sports, there's always those people who can be right there. They're a playoff team, but they're not a Super Bowl team. And that, unfortunately, is Beneil Dariush going up against Benoit Saint-Denis. This is Benoit Saint-Denis' reintroduction to the elite level, if that makes any sense, because this was a guy that showed some promise. Fans liked him. Of course, he had the being French, he has a whole nation behind him. But Dustin Poirier showed that he wasn't quite ready for the elite level. I think Renato Carneiro showed that as well. Lost those fights back to back, finished in both of them. So had a couple wins. They weren't against elite talent. His strength is his ground game. He's a big 155-pounder. Has had trouble losing gas midway through fights, number one. Number two, his strength, as I just said, is his ground game. That's also the strength of Beneil Dariush. So can someone catch Beneil Dariush? Yeah, you have to be able to out-wrestle or outstrike him. Charles Oliveira, Arman Tsarukyan, of course, able to do that. The idea that you're going to catch him in a submission, I think even a shot Beneil Dariush could get out of a 3-round fight without getting submitted by Benoit Saint-Denis. I think he has a superior ground game. Also big, physical, strong, has never had that letdown. It's been years since he had a letdown fight where the guy he lost to wasn't the elite of the elite. So this is just another example of Beneil Dariush, I think in this case, being victorious, because I'm making him my pick, against someone who is not quite there, but once he's there, he's going to fall short again, unfortunately. So I think he's going to be one of those lightweights. I don't think he gets another title opportunity. Looking at the odds on DraftKings, it is Benoit Saint-Denis minus 180, so almost a 2-1 favorite. Yeah, I will take Beneil Dariush in this one all day. So moving up, Leon Edwards, Carlos Pache. Pache minus 175. So once again, almost a 2-1 favorite over Leon Edwards. The difficulty is ex-champions tend to stumble for a bit until they, generally speaking, until they find their footing again. Of course, the loss to Bilal Muhammad, lost his title. And then after that, Sean Brady, who's on this card as well. Sean Brady, to me, has what it takes to perhaps be a champion at 170 pounds. Very deep division. I think Sean Brady is that good. There's always a little shell shock after you lose your title. You got to find your footing. Where am I? Should I keep doing this? Am I going to still be making big money? All this stuff. I think that showed in his last couple fights. Although it was against, once again, Sean Brady is a great fighter. So I don't see a lot of shame in that loss. And I didn't see oh my God, he's totally shot. I think he wasn't ready for the style of Sean Brady. I think Sean Brady fought a great fight. He was able to take him out of his element and completely dominate. I'll move on to Sean Brady and what he's going to do in this card in a minute. But so I don't see those necessarily as indicative of Leon Edwards being absolutely shot. And Carlos Pache is a very good fighter. Physically tough, very, very strong, has finishing ability on the feet, but still kind of a work in progress. Best win of his career, Jeff Neal, Neil Magny. So good, mid-level guys, but he hasn't had that step-up performance where he's shown that he can be elite. Obviously, against Ian Machado Gary, lost that fight. So I think it's a similar kind of thing where Ian Machado Gary, that outside, what I call kind of ticky-tack style, where not necessarily going to knock you out with one strike, but good range, works the head to the toes, good angle, good movement. To me, that's also Leon Edwards' style. Mostly kickboxing, versatile, rangy, former champion. Yes, he can knock you out, the head kick against Kamaru Usman, but he isn't typically a power puncher. So I don't think he's going to overcommit and allow a striker like Carlos Prates, who is a power striker, who does have good finishing ability, that counter-punching opportunity. I think he's going to take his time, stay on the outside. It might be a boring fight. That's one of my caveats here. It might be a little bit boring, but I think Leon Edwards has what it takes to outpoint a Carlos Prates if he isn't shot. Looking at the last two fights, I don't see a shot fighter yet. If he falls apart against Prates, yeah, it might be his not only his best days behind him, his career might be behind him. I'm not seeing that yet. And also, with the odds I am seeing on DraftKings, once again, which is plus 145 for Leon Edwards, you make plus money on him, I definitely see that. So I'm going Leon Edwards probably by decision over Carlos Prates. So 2 upsets in a row. Sean Brady, Michael Morales. This is almost a coin flip. Sean Brady minus 130, Michael Morales plus 110. Morales, of course, coming off the knockout win over Durinho Burns, who's a great fighter, but man, he's shop-worn. He's been through some really tough fights. Morales has the power advantage in this fight. So if you're going big on Morales, go by knockout. He was obviously finished by Bilal Muhammad, who's not a great striker with real knockout power, so that certainly could happen. I think it's almost a GSP Matt Serra situation for people who go back that far in MMA. GSP got knocked out by Matt Serra and became a more conservative fighter. He just went, look, I'm going to stick with my strengths here, really concentrate on my grappling, my takedown, my ground and pound, stay safe. And then GSP went on an amazing run after the Matt Serra loss. I think it's a similar thing with Sean Brady, where against Bilal Muhammad, getting knocked out by a guy who didn't necessarily have knockout power, doesn't necessarily have knockout power, I think made him go, okay, I'm going to stick to my bread and butter a little bit more. When it comes to the takedown, when it comes to submission ability, when it comes to the ground and pound, I am incredibly impressed by Sean Brady. He has beaten guys, Richie Martinez, notably, has a win over Craig Jones, but Craig Jones, they weren't allowed to do leg locks in that, so there's a little bit of caveat there. He's beaten some really good guys who just do submission grappling for a living, who aren't even MMA guys. Submitted Richie Martinez with a mounted guillotine. So he has the ability to hang with elite guys on the ground. And not just hang with, beat elite guys who just do jiu-jitsu. So big, strong, physical. His striking is good if he doesn't over-rely on it and get in some trouble, meaning, thinks he's Sugar Ray Robinson. I think he does well in this. And also, facing a dangerous striker, I think he's going to play the, 1-2 takedown, right? What I call the Matt Hughes. Punch right into the takedown. I'm not trying to get into a stand-up war with this guy. I think he respects him enough to do that. I have a ton of faith in Sean Brady. By the way, becoming, if not champion, definitely a contender at 170 pounds. So I think he keeps on rolling. He is, once again, only a slight favorite, minus 130, basically a coin flip. But I got to go with Sean Brady in this one. If you want to make some money, I would go with the under, which is plus 130. Because if he does get him, he does take him down and submit him. So if you can get an early submission for big money on Sean Brady, take it, depending on your book. So moving up. Valentina Shevchenko, Zhang Weili, once again, almost a coin flip. Valentina Shevchenko minus 135 over Zhang Weili's plus 114, so basically a coin flip. All right, this is one of the toughest fights on this card to call because Zhang Weili has just looked so dominant and so good at 115. And Valentina Shevchenko, despite being the GOAT at 125, and right now on my all-time list, I obviously did a video about Ronda Rousey. Look, I don't like Ronda Rousey's comments. I don't like what I know about her personally. I still put her on my Mount Rushmore of MMA, women's MMA. Right now, I would say Amanda Nunes, Cyborg, Valentina Shevchenko, Ronda Rousey. So Valentina Shevchenko, all time to me, is number 3. Fantastic. I could explain. Anyone who knows MMA knows. Versatile, explosive, dynamic, well-rounded, big for the weight class. So provided time hasn't completely caught up with her, she should have the advantage in this fight. The issue is time is catching up with her. And you can see in her last few fights, a little bit of the explosiveness is gone, a little bit of the placement is gone, where it used to be she could just put a punch right on a dime. Your timing starts going a little bit as you get a little bit older. It's just, you start wearing down just a little bit. And Zhang Weili has the style to take advantage of that. I don't see Valentina Shevchenko, although she spent her career at a bigger weight class, having a ton of physical advantages in this fight. She's not undersized for 125, but she's never been like the mauling, bigger, get inside and beast you kind of fighter. She's an outside, accurate kind of fighter. Zhang Weili can get inside and beast you at 115. So I think it's a comparable, there's comparable physical strength here at 125. Now, Shevchenko's advantage is on the outside, where her kicks are very, very good. Her combinations are nice and sharp. Real tick-tock with the foot movement, so she can take you by surprise there. No slouch on the ground, although I do think Zhang Weili has an advantage in this one. If I could get great money on Zhang Weili, I'd take it. She's the favorite. No, I'm sorry. It's Zhang Weili is the underdog, but just barely. Plus 114, right? So if I could get great money on Zhang Weili, I would take it. Right now, that's not what I'm seeing on these books. It's almost 50-50, so I got to go with Valentina Shevchenko by decision in this one. I think she still has enough left to make this an outside game, use good combinations, and keep Zhang Weili away from her strength, which is the inside grappling positions. I think she can do that. Also, both these ladies champions have a ton of experience, so the ring IQ also helps Valentina Shevchenko maybe keep Zhang Weili on the outside at the end of her jab, but it's very, very close. Main event, Jack Della Maddalena versus Islam Makhachev. Islam Makhachev minus 285, almost a 3-1 favorite. You can get plus 230 on Jack Della Maddalena. Folks, that's too big for someone coming up from 155 to 170 pounds. The only person to hold titles at 55 and 70 was BJ Penn. BJ Penn, by the way, was not a lot of people call him a double champ. He was not a sitting champion when he beat Matt Hughes. Also, was not the modern era of the sport. There's almost like a dividing line between when BJ Penn won over Matt Hughes and modern 170 pounders. Although Matt Hughes was very, very big at 170 pound, crazy strong. But the idea that of all the double champs or champs who have held belts in two weight classes, in the modern era, no one's done it. 85 to 205, 70 to 85, 55 to 70, right? So the double champs, of course, Cejudo, Conor McGregor, Randy Couture held belts at two weight classes. Of course, Daniel Cormier holding belts at two weight classes. But 55 to 70 is a huge jump. It's massive. 15 freaking pounds is huge. And also, Jack Della Maddalena, not only is he a big 170, he's a rangy 170. His style and everything is to keep somebody outside, hand to foot, foot to hand, keep them at a distance, and make a guy like Islam Makhachev work really hard to get inside. Once he gets inside, he's going to have problems for sure. But this idea that I think a guy moving up 15 pounds in weight class, taking on a guy who's a very good outside striker, does have knockout power. I don't necessarily see him finishing Islam Makhachev unless Makhachev really overcommits and does something stupid. He's down against standing fighters tend to have iron chins. The idea that he finished him, I think unlikely. I think he can pick him apart. Once again, if the odds were closer, I might favor Islam Makhachev. They're not close. 3-1 odds on Jack Della Maddalena. Now the problem with Maddalena, to me, as a sitting champion, is because of the nature of his title win and the way he got there, we didn't see a long list of great fighters with a lot of different styles. So his path to a championship was Kevin Holland, who I think is middle of the road, pretty good, not great. Gilbert Burns, that's the best one of his career. Finished him, remember, in a fight that he was losing, and he had to come back and knock Gilbert Burns out. And then you had Bilal Muhammad, who struck with him the whole time, and Bilal Muhammad's not a great striker. I just wish we had maybe more of a body of work on Jack Della Maddalena like we do on Islam Makhachev. I think that's the reason, partly, too, the odds are so skewed, is Islam has looked so dominant for so long, basically cleared out 155. And Jack Della Maddalena didn't do that at 170, so we're not sure. At 3-1, moving up 15 pounds, I just don't see how you don't give the edge to, just for the money line, Jack Della Maddalena. So Jack Della Maddalena by decision. So a lot of upsets there for you. Appreciate you. I'll be back Monday to own my picks as always. Once again, sorry for the setup, but I'll see you again soon.